Hello, I'm Emma Palmer-Foster and I'm a second year part-time PhD student at Birkbeck University of London. In terms of my background, I'm a biochemist by background, so a natural scientist by background, and then have spent most of my career working in the life sciences sector, working with pharmaceutical and biotech companies on things like fundraising, IPOs, mergers and acquisitions, and helping them to communicate better and in business development. And for the last almost 20 years, I've worked for myself as a consultant advising companies. My PhD project is looking specifically at science parks and particularly bioscience parks. So these are science parks that are particularly associated with biotech companies. What I'm particularly interested in understanding is all the different stakeholders and owners of science parks, the different combinations they come in. What difference does that make to the innovation impact that a bioscience park has on its local environment? I think this is a really interesting question with regards to science policy and also the way in which scientific biotech companies decide where to locate themselves. There's lots of things that have motivated me to study this particular topic. One is, as a consultant, I've worked with a lot of science parks, and it struck me how they all have different stakeholder and ownership structures, but they all claim to be science parks, which would indicate they're trying to do the same thing. My attention was piqued then by how come they're all thinking they're doing the same thing. What kind of impact, what difference does it make to have these different stakeholder patterns? What does it mean for the science park, and what does it mean for their local regional innovation system? What difference does it make to the local economy, particularly with regards to innovation? I think my research will advance knowledge in the field of science parks, bioscience parks, and innovation by providing a better understanding of the specialised case of bioscience parks, because there isn't much in the research that focus specifically on the life sciences sector. It will also advance the knowledge about how innovation is developed by interaction with science parks. The other point that I think is interesting about the research and how it will advance knowledge is the particular case of stakeholders in science parks. I'm hoping that some of the insights from the close interaction of stakeholders in bioscience parks will have some implications for stakeholder theory generally. Very often the triple helix model is cited with regards to science parks, and that can be very much for science parks which have a strong university component. My observation, and it's not a particularly startling insight, is that not all science parks have a dominant university stakeholder, and so there may be some learnings and some advancement of the literature by understanding how well the triple helix model can be applied to science parks. In terms of who might benefit from the research I'm doing, I think in the first instance there's a very obvious answer, which is science parks, bioscience parks, people who are looking to develop science parks and want to use their either government money or private money to generate an innovation environment. So I think that's a sort of more direct beneficiary or people who will be interested in my research. I think one of the other things that is a bigger, broad brush piece of interest in my research is that most countries will cite the life sciences industry as a key part of their innovation strategy or industrial strategy, however they label it. And science parks are very often an important part of national innovation strategies. So I think governments in other countries may also be interested in the kind of outcomes that could come from the bioscience park research I'm doing and understand how better to create parks that do benefit the local environment in terms of innovation. Because as we all know, innovation is a strong driver of economic growth and is very important for most economies. I'm a mature student and I've worked for myself for a long time, so I'm not sure that career plans is quite how I think about my research and my PhD. It's a big undertaking, the PhD, as a part-time student, so it's not very often that I allow myself to think beyond it, but I think it's fair to say that I see the thinking, the work and the thinking that goes into my PhD as playing an important role in making me better at my job in terms of the quality of my thinking and my ability to analyse. So while I would say it's not a step on a career ladder, because that's generally not how I think about things, it certainly is a massive boost to my quality of thinking, I hope. And after I finish my PhD, and I'm saying that very positively because I'm assuming that I do actually get there. After I finish my PhD, whether I continue in my job as a consultant, whether I do some academic work, whether I do a bit of both, that remains to be seen. It's some way off, so you need to ask me again in about 5 years' time about that.